Hello everyone, for those who haven't met me yet, I'm Sarah and I am here on the PetaPixel channel creating more content, so go back and see some of the previous videos that I have worked on if you haven't already. Anyways, so I know I started the video with that random montage and you're probably wondering what the heck is this video even about? Well, today I'm here to tell you about this little guy. Oh god, it's dirty. Hang on. All right, this is the Q camera, and it is a very interesting little device, as you can see here. So Q, the company that made this, is an imaging brand based in Kyoto, Japan. They are reinventing the way that we preserve our memories from here on out. So they founded Q in 2022 and actually launched this little camera in Japan only in 2024. They've just opened pre-orders in the US and they will be shipping sometime in July this year. So here's the idea behind the camera. Capturing memories and taking out your phone to record whatever you want has never been easier. So Q is basically trying to say, we capture all these memories, we record all of this content on our phones, which ends up being buried in the cloud or in our camera rolls, never to be seen again. And this is because there are so many things that we're shooting and therefore overshooting, and nothing really ever comes of that footage. The idea is that memory preservation does not need to be the most high quality, and it doesn't even really matter how we're capturing those memories, as long as the experience is intentional, meaningful, and simple. And so basically the fact that recording short clips of video is the only thing this camera can do is part of the whole point. Something that I really loved about this camera was actually the unboxing experience. Technically, this is still just a box prototype, but I thought it was already done really well. The box itself is very small and shaped like a book, probably as a nod to a memory book, but there were little details in this box that I really appreciated, like the stickers and the concept art and all these little reminders back to their mission. And then the camera itself, which still felt like it was packed very safely. The camera itself is super small, fits very easily in the palm of my hand, and there's this cool imprint of the camera on the box too. There's a small camera on the front side, which is an 8 megapixel sensor, and then there's a larger camera on the back, which is a 13 megapixel sensor. It also has a 1.5-inch circular LED touchscreen on the front with a small microphone and a singular button to start and stop recording. After you record your clip, the camera will automatically go back into sleep mode, indicated by this little countdown, and it'll be ready for your next recording after that. Once you're done taking your videos, you can easily just pull out this external memory unit and plug it right into your phone to offload your videos into the Q app. The memory unit itself is 32 gigabytes in capacity. So it is extremely simple to use. All you have to do is click the button to wake up the device, and then you click the button again to start recording. You can also click it again to stop recording. So here is where the interesting part comes in. The camera itself can only record video clips, no photo, and it can only record video clips up to 9 seconds long. On top of that, you can only record up to 27 video clips per day. So the point again is that you have to be intentional with what you're creating and what you're shooting because you only have so many clips to take. So you might be wondering, why 9 seconds? Why not 10 seconds? Well, actually the word Q in Japanese also means the number 9, so that is where they got 9 seconds. So while you can record videos up to 9 seconds, you can also record videos shorter than that. You just have to click the button again, otherwise the video will automatically stop recording when it hits 9 seconds. It's almost kind of like a roll of film where instead of limiting to 36 exposures per roll of film, you're only limited to 27 videos a day. So you do have to pick and choose what you want to use those 27 videos on. So within the app, which I will talk about a little bit later as well, your photos are only viewable by people that you invite. Everything is invite only because the point of this camera is not to be sharing on social media. They don't provide a platform for that, but instead it's meant to be a place where you can share your memories only with the people that you want to, and you can create multiple different photo albums comes to do that. So how are the videos from the Q camera? Great question. The answer is they are good enough. So the camera can shoot on both front and back up to 1080p, 30 frames per second, and they record in the 1:1 square aspect ratio, which I think is a very interesting choice, but also it makes sense considering, you know, these are not technically meant to be for social media, but it is very easy to still post them to social media if that is what you choose to do. That being said, the colors on this camera are pretty vibrant and you don't really have to do anything to them. And again, it kind of fulfills that purpose of what it set out to do. Now, in terms of the design and the experience using the Q camera, design-wise, it is very cool. Anytime that I have brought it out with friends, people seem to be really interested by just the way it looks. It's really easy to hold and take around, throw in my bag, but I've been really nervous about dropping it because there isn't any kind of grip on the sides or anything other than this smooth aluminum. I do also wish that maybe there was some kind of mounting area so that I could attach a little wrist strap if I wanted to. Experience-wise, I think it is a really fun camera. However, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit difficult for me to remember to take this out. I actually have been carrying it with me for the past several weeks in New York, just when I'm going out or running errands or whatever it is. But truthfully, I would always forget to take it out for the specific memories that I wanted to record, just because I wasn't used to it, you know? I'm super used to taking out my iPhone and snapping a photo, snapping a quick video, and then putting it away for the rest of the evening. And I forgot to do that with this multiple times. I would bring it out to go get dinner with friends, and then I would go back home and realize I never actually took any videos with it. So that's the only thing really. I think that if I were to have this for a little bit longer, I would be more used to taking it out. I'd probably remember to use it a little bit more over time, but by habit of having my phone all the time, it was not very intuitive for me to have this out when I actually wanted it to be. So as with all cameras of this generation, the Q camera does come with a corresponding app, so I'll go ahead and show you how that works. Here's the initial onboarding tutorial for the app, where they tell you all about how many videos you can capture per day, about how it is invite only, and then how you can tap the highlight button to create these highlight reels that you can refer back to later. All you have to do is take out the external memory unit and plug it directly into your phone. Once you open up the Q app, it will directly recognize that you've plugged in the memory unit and it'll start automatically importing all of your videos. One thing about this experience is that you cannot really pick and choose which videos you want to import. All of them will get imported by default. And another thing that doesn't necessarily get told to you initially is that when videos get imported off of the memory unit onto your phone, they automatically get deleted off of the memory unit. This was a little bit of a surprise to me because when I was making this video, I wanted to plug the memory unit into my computer so I could directly take off the footage from there. But then I realized they were gone. They weren't on the memory unit because I had already dumped them out onto my phone. But then it was just a whole manual process for me to download them and then airdrop them to my laptop. So that was interesting. My initial experience with the app, similar to what I just talked about, was a little bit confusing. It was due to user error, but I think a lot of it was due to some UI and copy choices by the company. So for example, when I first used the app, I tried to create a highlight reel of the clips that I had imported, obviously, but the highlight button was not working. So anytime I would try to click on the highlight button, nothing would happen. It wasn't until I got on a call with one of the founders to talk this through to understand that I had to press and hold on the button in order to make that happen. So I don't think it's necessarily anyone's fault. I think it's just very valuable for them to get feedback from English speakers like me to indicate that if a button says press the button, you're gonna tap it. But if it says press and hold the button, you're gonna leave your finger on the button. So I was able to give that feedback to the team, and I think that there will be a lot of copy improvements by the time the app is fully available to US users, so that shouldn't be an issue by then. Once I got over that hump of trying to figure out how to make my highlight reel, the rest of the app was very straightforward. There are only 3 tabs in the entire app. The only things it can really do are organize all of your footage by day, create highlight reels that you can look back on and share with your friends, and look look at a few different stats about how many videos you've taken over time, yada, yada, yada. So overall, the app does exactly what it's supposed to do and nothing more, nothing less. It really does achieve the mission it set out to do, and it is quite straightforward once you get the hang of it. So the last thing I want to talk about is whether there are any alternatives to this camera, whether you should buy it, who this camera might be for. Honestly, there are no one-to-one exact comparison or alternatives for this camera. I would say the closest thing would be maybe Snapchat or 1 second every day, which is a separate app where you record 1 second of every day and then it will splice it all together for you to have an annual highlight reel. But either way, I don't think there's necessarily other clear alternatives for something like the Q camera. It is very unique in that sense, and it does fulfill a gap in the market that no one has ever done before. The Q camera is not meant to compete with your professional camera by any means, and technically it's not supposed to compete with your smartphone either. You might be wondering, why wouldn't I just use my smartphone? Why would I need to carry around this second device? What they had said to me is the fact that not everyone is a creator. Not everyone has the capacity to do so. Creators create with the final product in mind, and so they know how to get from point A to point B. On the other hand, a non-creator doesn't exactly know where to start, doesn't think the same way that you would with the end product in mind. So if the only thing you have to think about is just creating these 9-second clips and then someone else can do the work for you, that is exactly who this camera would be for. For me personally, I am super locked into my smartphone, my iPhone. I feel like I wouldn't necessarily want to carry the Q because it's an extra device that I'd have to have on me. I'm very comfortable being able to edit everything, having everything on there without having to import it from another device. It works for me. Q is definitely targeted for people of my generation, but honestly, after thinking about it and using it a little bit more, I do think it makes a lot more sense for people maybe of an older generation who are not as comfortable using their smartphones, are not as reliant on them, and want a dedicated device that can capture those memories. It would be very good for someone who, again, is not a creator, is not very technology savvy, because this device can do it all for you. Everyone has a need for preserving memories, right? So if you have grandkids, you have your own children, you have all the things that you want to document about your life, this would be a really great way to do that. Currently, the camera is priced at $299 USD. It is currently available for pre-orders and they are expected to ship sometime this summer. For the build quality that you're getting, the price does make sense. However, I know it's not a cheap device, but if you do have a need for it, I think it's totally reasonable. So should you buy the camera? I think the answer is maybe, depending on who you are. I do think there is a market for this camera, especially if you resonate with the mission behind the company. Anyways, thank you for watching, and let me know if you have any questions specifically about the Q camera. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you like this video, and I will see you next time.